Hey guys, it's Luke Yon, and today I am going to be talking about all of the books that I read in July. I read so much last month, I was completely flying through books left and right, so I'm really excited to talk about all of them with you. And I'm going to try to make this quick because I read 16 books in July, so let's just tear through these. The first book that I read in July was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is her latest book, and it follows a woman named Joan who is one of the first women to work at NASA in the 1980s, and it's two timelines, so it follows her getting hired and going through the training and everything, and then it follows her as she's trying to help a crew while they're in a spaceship that is having a malfunction. And one of the people in the crew is someone that she loves. So it's a really interesting dual timeline, and I really loved this book. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I think this book showcases a lot of what Taylor Jenkins Reid does really well with the multiple timelines and the love story at the heart of it, and just following women in these interesting fields and jobs and stuff. I really loved all of the research that Taylor Jenkins Reid did and incorporated into this book. You can tell that she was really passionate about this topic and getting it right and everything. And the book is really, really easy to read because, as I said, you have Joan getting into NASA and going through all of the stuff to train and everything, and then you have this really fast-paced mission that she's trying to deal with, and it's kind of hard to describe because there's not a huge overarching plot beyond what I've already said, but it's a great character study. I really love Joan. There's a lot of stuff about her personal life as well, which was really interesting, and there's a lot of commentary on the time period, the 1980s, things that were going on, and I just thought it was a great book. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars, would definitely recommend, and I think it is a great book to get into Taylor Jenkins Reid if you haven't read one of her books before. Then I picked up With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. This is a mystery novel that takes place in the 1950s, and it follows a main character named Anna, whose family has completely fallen apart because of this scandal that her father was involved in, and she basically finds out that there's this group of people who she believes are responsible for that and the kind of just desecration of her family, and so she invites them all on a one-way trip from Philadelphia to Chicago, where the FBI will be waiting in Illinois for all of these people who they are going to arrest because she has undeniable proof that they are responsible for this terrible tragedy. And, as you might expect, things go wrong on this 13-hour train ride. There are twists and turns. It's a mystery novel, and I really enjoyed it. I also gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really fun to read, very fast-paced. It goes through hour by hour. There are multiple POVs. You obviously have Anna, but then all the other people that are in the train, and there was just a lot of fun cliffhangers at the end of each chapter that was propelling me forward. I think this would definitely make a great movie or show. If you like Murder on the Orient Express, I think this is a good one. It definitely has Agatha Christie vibes, and you can tell it's kind of an homage to her and the locked room mystery setting. So I really enjoyed it. I've read one other Riley Sager book, which was Survive the Night. Very, very different books, but I do think that he's really talented, and I'm excited to read more from him. Next, we have Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. This is a recent YA fantasy standalone release, and it follows 2 souls who, every 18 years, are forced to, kill the other one, and they get reincarnated in a new place, and the cycle just happens over and over again. It's infinite, and it says they've loved each other in 1,000 lifetimes, they've killed each other in every one. So I gave this book 4 stars as well. I thought it was a really interesting fantasy story, and the main arc in this book, we have obviously there's glimpses into each of the different timelines, and we follow the main character Evelyn, or the main soul, as she is in El Salvador and Mali and tons of other places, but the present timeline is Wales, and she is trying to figure out a way to help her sister who is terminally ill, and there's all the stuff with like the fates and the souls and everything. I don't want to say too much because it could get into spoiler territory pretty quickly, but I thought this was a great standalone. I loved all of the different locations and time periods and the way that the author like spaced all of that out. I thought it was really well done, and I also thought the present timeline was really interesting. There were definitely some major plot twists in this book, and yeah, it was overall just like a super good book. I think it's worth the hype, and I am excited to see what other books this author releases. Then I decided to go through my TBR and read some books that have been sitting there for a while, so I picked up Circe by Madeline Miller. This is obviously a Greek mythology retelling, and it follows Circe from the Odyssey, and it's really just her perspective on everything. It starts when she's like kind of younger, and then obviously she's immortal, so it goes through centuries. And I surprisingly really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I started this years and years ago, like 2019, and I wasn't really into it. It felt kind of dry to me, but when I picked it up last month, I just started flying through it. It was so interesting. I loved Madeline Miller's writing. I read her like short story that she released some years ago, and I really liked her writing in that novella, and it definitely translates into this full-length novel. I think she has a great way with words, and I really appreciated Circe as a main character. I thought her perspective was really interesting and definitely unexpected at times. Like, you would think, you have this like idea of what an immortal's point of view would be, and I think Circe brings some interesting things to the table, or like Madeline Miller brings some interesting things to the table with the way that she wrote Circe. And yeah, it was just really interesting. It's super fast-paced, obviously, and I think it does a good job of balancing like Circe's internal monologue with like outward plot. And yeah, I was totally gripped from beginning to end. The only thing that doesn't make it like a 5 out of 5 star book is, like, as I said, there's so much happening all the time that sometimes it leans into telling instead of showing. So, you know, sometimes it felt like there was a lack of focus because things were just happening so quickly. But that's just like a minor thing. I still really loved this book, and I would recommend it to pretty much anyone. It definitely, if you love fantasy, there's tons of fantasy vibes. If you love like literary books, it definitely has some aspects of that genre, and I think obviously if you love Greek mythology, this is a perfect read for you. After that, I read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is another mystery novel, and it follows a woman named Rowan who is writing to a solicitor from her jail cell because she is trying to get representation for a crime that she did not commit but that she was accused of, where she was the nanny to this rich family in the Scottish Highlands in a very high-tech household, like a smart house basically, and some very strange things ends up happening, and you know from the beginning that one of the children dies. So it's an interesting book. Like, the beginning is her like starting these letters to this lawyer, and then the rest of the book is like a normal narrative, but there's like times when she'll address the solicitor like directly, so there's always that like epistolary format throughout. But it was a very engaging book. I read it all in one day. It's not too long, it's just over 300 pages, but I really liked Ruth Ware's writing. I've read one of her other books, One by One, and this one has like similar aspects where it's like a remote location with these strange happenings, but it also feels very unique. Like, there's some gothic elements as well, and yeah, it was just a good book. I'd recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I have mixed thoughts on the ending. Like, I've read people who didn't, like, I've read reviews from people who did like the ending and from people who didn't like it. So I'm kind of in the middle. Like, depends on the day, but it definitely is a conversation starter. So I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for a kind of gothic suspenseful mystery. Okay, then I read The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This is a fantasy novel that takes place in the 13th century, if I'm not mistaken, either the 12th or the 13th century, and it follows Amina al-Sirafi, who is a retired pirate. She's living in a seaside town with her mother and her daughter when she's approached by this very rich woman who asks her to help find her granddaughter, who she believes has been kidnapped by a European pirate guy. And so Amina comes out of retirement and recruits some of her old crew to set sail on the Indian Ocean and to find this girl. And obviously there's a ton of shenanigans that the crew gets into. This book is really, really fun. It's super fast-paced. There's so many different locations that the characters go to, and I just loved it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars as well. I thought it was such an enjoyable read. Amina has such a great, like, voice. It's a very distinct, unique perspective, and I thought Shannon Chakraborty did a great job of setting the scene of the Indian Ocean and all these different countries and, like, the Middle East and Africa and, like, South Asia, and it was just such an engaging read. I was so gripped all throughout, and I am really excited for the sequel. I think it's going to be really interesting, and I'm excited for some more seafaring and swashbuckling fun. Okay, then I started a bit of an Agatha Christie binge. I read so many of her books this month, and the first one was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, obviously. This is one of her most famous books. I would say it's like Murder on the Orient Express, and then There Were None, Death on the Nile, Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and this one is particularly well known and renowned because of the twist, which I actually knew before going into it. I had got spoiled for it years ago, but it was actually really interesting to read the book knowing that, because I was able to pick up on clues and things. It's kind of hard to describe Agatha Christie books because they're like murder mysteries, but obviously this follows Poirot. This is a Poirot novel, but it actually follows a doctor who is like the point of view character, and the death of a man named Roger Ackroyd. Who would have guessed? Yeah, I don't want to say too much because besides the twist at the end, I really didn't know that much going into it, and also Agatha Christie books are like pretty short, and usually like the main plot happens in like the first chapter, so it's like hard to get like a good description of these books, but I enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars as well. Literally, like, the beginning of the month I had this stretch of 4-star reads, so this was one of them, and yeah, I totally understand why this is so famous. I think the conceit at the end is fascinating, and I would recommend it to pretty much any person who likes mysteries and who likes sleight of hand, and if you like Agatha Christie, you'll love this book. Then I picked up History's All You Left Me by Silvera. This follows a boy named Griffin whose boyfriend has recently died because of a tragic incident, and it's 2 timelines, so it's the present with Griffin grieving, and the past with him and Theo together. And I liked this book. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know, there was just something, like, while I was reading that I didn't love, like, maybe it's the writing style, I don't know, but I thought, like, the book was, like, interesting enough to keep me engaged while I was reading, but there was just something about it that I never felt fully, like, connected to the book. It's really sad, like, really, really, really sad. One of the saddest books I've ever read, and I think it does a good job of capturing, like, grief, especially, like, grief of someone who, like, like, it's an interesting, like, situation because Griffin is, like, grieving, but he's, like, trying... It's hard to, like, describe because he's trying to, like, be there for Theo's family, but it's, like, a different type of grief, like, you know? Anyway, so, yeah. I just haven't thought about this book too much since reading it. It's definitely good. It's a solid contemporary book. If you want a good, like, cry, pick this up. But it was just never something that I fully could, like, love for some reason. But I do know there's a lot of people who love it. It's, like, one of their favorite books, and obviously Silvera is, like, a hugely popular author, but yeah, this one just, like, wasn't for me, but I still gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I do think it was solid. Another Agatha Christie book incoming, and that is The ABC Murders. This is another Poirot novel, and it follows a serial killer, sort of, who is killing people in alphabetical order. So there's A for Mrs. Asher in Andover, B for Betty Barnard in Bexhill, C for Sir Carmichael Clark in Churston, and Poirot has to get to the bottom of it. I loved this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I just thought it was so interesting to read, and it's so fast-paced. I like absolutely flew through it. I loved the like plot line. I loved just everything about this book was amazing. I would recommend it so much. The writing here is like top-notch, absolutely like Christie at her best. The mystery is so good, and definitely one of my favorites of all time from her. After that, I read Ever the Hunted by Erin Summerill. This is a book that I've had for years, and it was good. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. It's like a fantasy novel that follows this girl named Britta who is trying to avenge the death of her father, and it's like an adventure story. There's like these forests and things like that. It's pretty typical YA, like if you like Throne of Glass, if you like Agatha, if you like The Cruel Prince, if you like, I don't know, what are some other like kind of early YA, like Red Queen, things like that. So, yeah, if you like those books, you'll have a fun time with this. I liked it, I flew through it, but it just wasn't something that I would ever, like, love. It was just, like, a little bit too basic for me. And also, I do not love books about, like, traveling, and that's a lot of what this is, like, just going through the forest and things like that. But I did like the writing, I liked the main characters, I thought the world was interesting, and I was entertained enough to, like, read it pretty quickly. Okay, another 5-star Agatha Christie was A Murder is Announced, and this is a Miss Marple novel, and it takes place in this quaint English town of Chipping Cleghorn, where there is an advertisement in the local newspaper that says a murder is announced and will take place at Little Paddocks on Friday, October 9th at 6:30 p.m. And so the whole town goes to this place, Little Paddocks, and lo and behold, a murder does happen. So, I loved this book. I thought it was so fascinating. This is actually one of Agatha Christie's personal favorite books that she wrote, and I loved all the characters. There's so many different characters in this book, and I thought that they were all really well written. They all felt very distinct, and I flew through this as well. Like, it was such an amazing Christie. This is definitely like a beloved one from fans, and it is just great. Like, the mystery itself is like airtight. There's so many twists and turns, and I think the resolution in this book is super satisfying as well. Then, for some fantasy, I picked up There Will Come a Darkness by Katy Rose Poole, another book that I've had on my TBR for like a bajillion years. Sorry, I just got far away from the camera because I'm leaning on my bed. But yeah, I got this book like when it was released in like 2019, in the fall, and I just haven't gotten around to it until now, but it takes place in this world that's kind of like inspired by ancient Greece, and we follow 5 main characters who are all somehow involved in this prophecy that says there will be an age of darkness. And I don't want to say too much, but I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a great fantasy series starter. I thought all of the 5 main characters were really well written. They all felt very unique and like individual, and I could always tell like whose POV we were in. They all have their own interesting storylines, and they all intersect in really cool ways. And yeah, I just thought this was an amazing book, and I read it pretty fast despite how long it is, and it's like epic fantasy, but it is so like compulsively readable. There's always something to like keep you engaged, and also the chapters are pretty short, so you're flipping between the different plots pretty quickly. And I thought it was great, and I can't wait to read the next books in the series. Okay, then we have a bit of an underwhelming Christie, and that is 3-Act Tragedy. This is kind of hard to explain. Basically, there's like a dinner party and someone dies, and then there's another dinner party later and someone dies, and it's like murder in 3 acts. There's an actor in it. It's very like structured in that way, and like even in the beginning it says like directed by Sir Charles Cartwright, who's the narrator, Illumination by Hercule Poirot, and it's a good book. Like, it's a solid Christie. The mystery is interesting enough to like have kept me engaged, but I was able to figure out who did it very, very early on, like from the first couple of chapters, And so reading it was a little bit boring. Also, Poirot doesn't come in until very, very late. And even when he's there, well, like, he's in the beginning, but he doesn't become important until, like, the last few chapters. And even when he's there, like, throughout, it's minimal. So yeah, I give this 3 stars. Like, it was still good, still solid, still got the job done. But just not one of my favorites. Then I read Ordeal by Innocence by Agatha Christie, another one of her personal favorite books that she wrote, and this is sort of like a cold case mystery where there was this boy who was accused and imprisoned for killing his mother, and he ended up dying in jail soon after. And then about a year later, there is a man that comes to the family and says that he has evidence that the son was innocent. So it's this whole thing with the past being brought up, and I thought it was great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. There's so much amazing discussion about, like, the past coming, or, like, you know, resurfacing things from, you know, days gone by, and how the innocent deal with tragedies like this. And I thought it was really, really good. It's a lot of what Christie does very well, and I think, yeah, it was really good. Like, definitely a solid standalone from her. And it's not necessarily, like, a murder mystery. Like, it is because they are trying to figure out who actually, like, committed the murder. But it's a lot of, like, interpersonal family drama, which I think was really interesting. And yeah, I'm excited to watch the TV show, actually, because there is a limited series for this. But if you want, like, a cold case mystery, if you like more literary kind of suspense thrillers, with, like, psychological aspects as well, I think you would really love this. Okay, we got 2 more books to go, and the second to last one was super disappointing, and that was The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. I gave this 1 star out of 5. Definitely one of my least favorite books of the year. One of my least favorite books, like, ever, technically, I guess, if I gave it 1 star, but I don't even have the energy to, like, describe this book. Like, it was just really not my favorite. It's like, I'll just read the back. It's like, in the ancient city-state of Gujara, peace is the only law. Upon its rooftops and among the shadows of its cobbled streets wait the gatherers, the keepers of this peace. Their duty is to harvest the magic of the sleeping mind and use it to heal, soothe, and kill those judged corrupt. But when a conspiracy blooms within Gujara's great temple, Ehiru, the most famous of the city's gatherers, must question everything he knows. Someone or something is stalking its prey both in Gujara's alley and the realm of dreams. Ehiru must now protect the woman he was sent to kill or watch the city be devoured by war and forbidden magic. Sounds interesting, and I liked, like, the general, like, storyline in abstract, and I thought the world was cool, like, again, in abstract. But in the book, it was just so hard to get through. Like, it was so boring. I just realized I don't like N.K. Jemisin's writing. I've tried to read the 5th season, like, at bookstores. I've tried to, like, read the first chapter and see if I was into it because everyone raves about that series. I'm just not into it. I do not like her writing style. It's too, like, far removed. I just never connected to the characters. And this is, like, not a short book. It's over 400 pages. And it just always felt like I was at arm's length with everything. The world, the plot, the characters. Just, I never, like, was immersed in the story. It was always, like, I felt like I was reading. And by the like, halfway mark, I just started, like, skim reading because I'm a completionist. But also because I just didn't care. Like, you literally couldn't pay me to care about this book. And it was just not good, like, in my opinion. I don't like the way that she world builds. I don't like the way that she conveys characters. I just think, like, the world was so convoluted. The world is so convoluted and complex, but it's also just not explained whatsoever. And so it's, like, complexity, but, like, is it? It's just, like, kind of lazy writing, in my opinion. Like, if you just genuinely don't know what's going on and you don't know what any of these terms are and you have to flip to the glossary, like, every 5 minutes to figure out what something means, like, that's not, like, adult fantasy, cool, like, oh, these terms are all, like, fantastical and made up. It's just, like, I'm not going to describe what any of this means because I don't feel like it. Like, that's what it felt like to me, and it was just not good. So I don't think I'm going to read any N.K. Jemisin books in the future, and I don't know who I would even recommend this book to, because, like, dream magic, like, sounds really cool, but nope, I didn't like it. It feels a lot like, there's aspects of, like, Scythe by Neil Shusterman and Daughter of Smoke and Bone, or no, Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, but I would read those books any day before I pick this up again or recommend it to anyone. Okay, and then I could not have that be the last book that I read in July. I refused, so I decided to pick up Five Little Pigs by Agatha Christie, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This is another, like, cold case mystery, and it was actually originally published as Murder in Retrospect, and it basically, this woman was accused of killing her husband one day, and there were 5 5 witnesses, I guess, and it was just, like, irrefutable, like, she was convicted and everything, but then Hercule Poirot is approached by her daughter, who says that she knows her mother did not kill her father, and so Hercule Poirot has to go back and investigate these 5 witnesses, or, like, suspects, whatever, and figure out what actually happened, and I really liked this. I think it was super interesting structure. The beginning is, or, like, part 1 is Poirot, like, actually, like, trying to get to the bottom of things. He's, like, interviewing police people that were there, lawyers, and each of the 5 suspects, and then part 2 is each of the suspects' narrative on the situation, and then part 3 is him, like, figuring it all out. And it was interesting to, like, see 5 different people's perspective on the same thing, and all of that sort of stuff. The beginning was a little bit slow and repetitive, which is why I didn't give this a full 5 out of 5 stars, but from part 2 onward, it was great. I loved reading about all the different characters and how they imagined this particular day, and I think the resolution was fascinating. So this is an amazing Christie. I would absolutely recommend it if you like cold cases as well, and you also like very subtle mysteries, like trying to pick up on little discrepancies between different people's narratives. This is an amazing book, and one I would definitely recommend if you're a fan of Christie and if you haven't gotten around to it yet. But that is it for my July wrap-up. I tried to speed through these as quickly as I could, but yeah, overall an amazing reading month, and I've actually continued the trend so far in August. I won't be able to do my August wrap-up until, like, October. I'll combine August and September because I won't be home again until October, but it'll be worth it. So that is it for this video. I would love to know what books you read in July, and also any of your thoughts on the books that I mentioned here. All of my social media links are in the description box below, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!